So, welcome to this episode of the latest Insight podcast. I've done two episodes this month actually because I thought I would have a guest on this episode, but life just was lifing and it didn't happen because, yeah, just so much is going on with my move to Italy and my new routines and my new, life in many ways. So I was just like, I'll just do another solo podcast. There's so much to talk about. And I know how much you guys like the solo podcast as well. So hopefully I'll have a guest next month and then I'll also do a solo too. So there'll be two episodes going out. We'll see. So yeah, just tuning in for those who are completely new to my world. Hi, my name is Elisabeth Finocchiaro, and I am a breathwork facilitator, a mentor, a coach for helping people go through change, transformation in graceful ways. So I believe that change, healing, transformation are natural byproducts of who we become. So the hard work isn't necessarily the healing or the change, it's becoming the person who can actually hold it in a graceful way. And that is the work that I do with my clients. I have a membership, I have a emotional intelligence program that I run twice a year. I have a breathworker training program and my one-on-one work. So you can join these podcast episodes live as well, completely free, just to be in the community, to be in the chat, just to be in the live energy. It's always nice. So just knowing that you can join that. It's every third Tuesday. And if there's two episodes, it would be like every other Tuesday then at 12 o'clock Central European time. So, some things that I want to talk about today are one, the energy of embrace. I feel like it's such a big topic and reminder these past couple weeks within my own process and also my clients' process, and just importance of embrace has been a red thread through so many years, but I feel like it's just getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And another conversation that I want to bring in is insecurity. And how do we deal with insecurity? How do we meet insecurity? How do we walk through with insecurity? And yeah, so these are the two things that I want to bring up. And starting with embrace, I really want to kind of deep dive into it and so that you can feel your own sort of code for embrace, because sometimes we feel like we're embracing something, but really we're going into a numbness where you feel like you're embracing, you feel like you're accepting, you feel like you're allowing, but you're actually just took the electricity out. It's like the did you give up or did you surrender? They're kind of similar energies, but very different energetics. And I think this is also something that's coming up so much in my client work right now, especially in my facilitation program, where you can have two of the same, or how do I want to say this? It's like the same energy, but you can have two completely different angles. So you can do something, you can do the same thing, and one is coming from kind of like a lack or a resentment, and the other one is coming from an abundant heart and capacity. But they're doing the same thing. And I think this is why people that teach energetics have kind of a hard time sometimes teaching it, because sometimes we don't even know we're doing it the wrong way. We're like, no, but I am surrendering. I am doing this. It's like, no, you're actually not fully there. Sorry, I just need to take this phone. And it's like, how do we kind of feel that nuance, right? So let me know for those who are live if you want to, like, do you resonate with that? How is that landing for you? Where it's like you want to do this thing, but your resentment is getting in the way, and you're just like, I'm trying to come up with an example. I can use my own example from facilitation. So I grew up in the restaurant industry, so it was always like we were in service. Like whether I was working since I've been like 12 years old, taking people's jackets and like helping people, like, and then I was bussing tables, cleaning tables, and it's like being in the service industry. And in the service industry, the customer is always right, right? That's like the saying. So they could literally say anything and you have to say Yes, I will do that for you. And there's a beauty in service, in the service industry, like giving good service. And there's also a shadow of really having to put your needs aside in order to give somebody a good experience, even if they're being rude and not polite. So there's so many new, like, there's so many things that if you worked in the restaurant industry, you have learned about service and caring for others. So many beautiful things and also some shadow things. And then getting older, I stayed in the service industry, but within coaching and mentoring and facilitating. And it kind of has the same things where it's like, but it is different. So it's like the client is not necessarily always right, but there's always this kind of meeting between client and facilitator, or, you want mutual respect and you want clients who are resourced. And there's so many different things to this. But what I want to say here is that in my career, I have resented service before. And I was sharing this to my breathworker students that there was a time in my career where if a client told me what to do, I would get like a little bit resentful to be like, don't tell me what to do. Like, I'm doing my job. For example, in a breathwork session, if a client told me, like, can you put your heart or can you put your hand on my heart? Can you put your hand on my shoulder? Can you do this? Can you stay here? Can you do that? Can you put your hand on my belly? And I would just be like, don't tell me what to do. Right? Like, kind of bring up this mentality of, I'm not your personal, you know, thing that you can just tell what to do. And obviously, this is coming from the energetics of my own shadow of being afraid of people telling me what to do or losing my control, or and then there's a empowerment part here of being like, I also want to empower my clients to not depend on me and things like that, but there is always a balance, because ironically my practice is client led. And a lot of us are rewiring the fawning, which actually means that your opinion really matters in a session. So if you speak up and say, I need this, I want this, that could be one of the first times you've ever done that in a safe environment. So for me to say, yes, I can do that, or no, that doesn't feel good for me, it's so important that the clients are still able to speak up and do that. This whole story to say, where it's like, how did I go from loving service, loving to help people, to going through, to be honest, many different like small phases in my company over the past 10 years of being like sick of the word service, of being like, I don't want to be in service. Like, I just want to be, I just want to be myself and I just want to teach and I don't want to like, be so involved, and pulling back. There was actually a time in my career some years ago that I pulled a lot back from client work, and but I was still teaching, I was still, doing all of my things, but I was really taking a step back. And I feel like in one way it was really necessary for me, because I had to redefine what it was to give from an abundant heart and not get triggered from people needing things from me or wanting things from me. So I feel like I was able to return and understand what it meant to give from an abundant heart. And I think this is something that I've been really, really feeling into lately and supporting my training clients with, is like, how can we come from an abundant heart in our life and not this like resented, triggered part of us? And the thing is the same. I don't know if this is coming out so good. I didn't plan on doing this whole side story, but I know how valuable it is when I bring in my own experiences, like my direct experiences. And this is an insight that's been happening behind the scenes. So, and it's so easy for those who are coaches and facilitators, it's so easy to fall into like an not only just over giving, but giving from the wrong place. Giving because you feel like you need to give, giving because you're always the person that gives. And maybe you have this in your life as well. You're the role model, you're the giver. And at some point, that beautiful quality of yours, right? That service minded, service hearted part of you that is so beautiful, you start to resent it. And that's really not not where we want to come from. So it's like, how do you do the things that you want to do from the right place? That's energetics. For those of you who don't know and you maybe hear the word around, it's not about what you're doing, it's about how you're doing it. That is what energetics means. So if somebody is coaching you on your energetics, or if you're working on your energetics, you wouldn't really think about what it is that you're doing, like the strategy, the approach, the method. It would be more about from which place within yourself is it coming from. And most people argue that this is actually the most important part of evaluation or understanding yourself, not about what do you put out, but where did that come from? It's big, right? Because you can think about it in all areas of your life, in your relating in your relationships, in how you're approaching dating, in how you are putting work out into the world, and how you're seeking validation, in how you're even talking to people. It's like, what's your agenda? What's the energetics? Where is it coming from? So you can do many different things and you can have it come from many different places. And I think it's important to, I think life becomes more graceful, easeful, and yeah, let's just say graceful, easeful. There's many other words. But when we come from more of a regulated place within us, when we come from more of an abundant place within us, an aligned place, an honest place, because there's less resistance. There's more like, because I think maybe the idea here is this is not fully developed, but when there is resistance, we kind of have to change our approach to accommodate the resistance, if that makes sense. Instead of being somebody that softens the resistance and then engages and then makes the decision or relates or comes from there. So, yeah, there can be a lot of different paths to changing the way that we're relating to life and the different things that come up. For me, I had to go almost to an extreme of not wanting to quit my career. I've never, I mean, I've definitely gone to that point a couple of times. I think is very natural for all of us to go to like the extreme to be like, doubting. But I had to go to the extreme of really pulling back from how I gave and really kind of going back to myself in order to be able to return in a more balanced way. And sometimes that you see that so much in life where sometimes you have to go through the extreme to kind of land in the center. And I don't think extremes have to necessarily damage anything because a lot of times extremes feel very damaging. But if you can just allow yourself to go there and still sustain other things, so don't let the extreme kind of knock down all the other things you have going on in your life. But because I was able to take a really big step back in my career a couple years ago. And through that, I actually developed a principle called the ease principle. And I also launched an ease retreat and like the whole, like there was so much wisdom that came from me stepping back. And then I became trauma informed and I became more resourced as a professional because I felt like, okay, I need more skill set. I really want to be engaging with my clients in more of a, ethical way, like even more. And then I feel like, okay, now I'm back. I've developed this ease principle where it's like, I really don't need to engage that much or be so involved, but at the same time, be trauma sensitive enough to understand that there's like the when to involve, when to not involve, and not have that come from my own personal resentment and triggers or my own personal fulfillment and, you know, um, interest, if that makes sense. So, yeah, it's like, how do we, and this is like the big question, how do we approach the things that we're doing from the right place, from the place that we relate from, want to relate from? So, yeah, that has been one of the big insights lately and kind of like reflecting back over the years and noticing where is it all coming from? Where is the service coming from? Where is the places within us? Yeah. So let me know for those who are live if you want to share if that's landing. And I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I want to share about that, about the kind of process or the phases of energetics. Mm, I think the pendulum of yes and no is very powerful. And sometimes this is also something I've been feeling lately and really understanding also from a trauma sensitive approach. Maybe some of you have heard me say this before, but oftentimes in order to fully understand and connect to a desire of yours, an alignment of yours, a truth of yours, you actually do have to go to the no. But the idea is like you don't have to stay in the no. If you stay in the no, it can be it can be disabling, right? You can start to stay in a numbness or a disconnection or a protection or separation where you were supposed to go to the no long enough to know what it feels like to have autonomy in a way, to have choice, to completely kind of like remove yourself from something so that you get some air, you get some perspective, that you get to experience yourself without the thing. Okay, now we're getting to a good point here. When a really big pillar of my work is worthiness, like who are you without the thing? Who are you without this? Who are you without your job, your career, your accomplishments? For me, a big one would be like, who am I without service? If I grew up in literally the service industry, and then I entered the service industry from another angle, it's obviously a very big identity of mine, helping people. Like it is a part of me that is just almost always going on. For me to be able to find my true center within my relating to service, and you can plug in whatever you want to plug in here, I needed to completely disconnect from service. I needed to reconnect to who I am without service. And this is the process of worthiness, of connecting to your beingness, which is the foundation of energetics as well. So this is all coming together now. So the who are you without the thing? And this could even relate to relationships, roles. It could relate to family dynamics. Like if you are in a dynamic that's really not supporting you, it's so important that you actually remove yourself from that dynamic. Not saying forever, but that you can actually experience who you are without that dynamic. To enter again in whatever capacity that you choose, to enter again from the relationship that you've built, to enter again from what you feel is going to be a good place for you, coming from an abundant heart, I'm going to call it. It could be, an aligned place or whatever. I'm just calling it an abundant heart because what you feel in an abundant heart is that there is fulfillment. There is like I don't need fulfillment in all of these different places in my life because I have fulfillment within myself. And this is also a big shadow of the service industry, especially the facilitation and the coaching industry, where it's like my work is so fulfilling, right? I get so much feedback, I get so much validation, I get so much love and connection. I even get intimacy in my work, right? Because of the conversations and the breakthroughs and the relationships that are built. But it will quickly turn into a shadow if this is the only place that I'm getting intimacy, connection, deep conversations, like fulfillment, getting my needs met. if I'm projecting all of that onto my company or onto my client relationships and my work, then it can quickly turn into a resentment or a just like if you put your value or your worthiness onto an accomplishment, right? If you put it on something outside of you, that thing can change, it can move, it can develop, like different things can happen where suddenly you don't have it. So the worthiness, the fulfillment, I really believe needs to come from life itself, my relationship to myself, my relationship to my body, how I relate to living the living moment, not necessarily a person, a career, or something that I do. I'm experiencing a shutdown and I do need to make a reorientation. Yeah. So having awareness about the shutdown, very good. Sometimes the shutdown becomes so heavy that kind of the only way through is to like just completely go into it. I love the quote or like I love the idea that like you can either break yourself up out of a depression or you can break yourself through a depression. Like if you fully embrace the state, there usually is a way out underneath of it. And this is actually bracing or bridging into the conversation of embrace as well. But yeah, also bringing in this pendulum of reorientation usually requires some sort of a setback, right? It requires some sort of a, okay, let's map out a little bit. Let's take a little moment to see the bigger picture. Again, it's kind of this connection to the no and feeling like, okay, this isn't working right now. I'm noticing there's a shutdown. Is there, you know, something, can I just see what it's like? This can't be the only reality. And I think if you have the availability to realize that, you're in a really good place. If the shutdown has completely taken over and you're identifying as the shutdown, then I would say embrace is the best practice, even though I think embrace is the best practice for almost anything, anytime, anywhere, any process. But if you can differentiate between noticing yourself in a shutdown, so you actually have that space, I would work on making that space bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and trying to, like you say, just reorient yourself and realizing what are the parts of yourself that aren't in a shutdown? What are the parts of your life right now that are moving? Start to bring your, you notice your, or start to bring your attention towards the places and realize that not all of you is shut down, if that makes sense. That really helps with reorientation. I think I've been through a similar process. I used to feel pressure to always serve. If someone came to my house, they could expect a three-course meal and lots of time and attention every time. Wow. I realized this wasn't always coming from a pure desire of giving. Sometimes it felt like I had to prove myself exactly, or on some level, feel like I was doing enough exactly. For the past couple years, I've practiced feeling enough simply by being there and challenging myself to not always go the extra mile. Yeah, after practicing that for a couple years, I'm feeling more inspired to give and show up more than ever. Exactly. That's really the loop here, where it's like you're noticing the overgiving tendencies, you're over the noticing the lack that you're feeling inside of yourself. You take a little moment, you pull back a little bit and just being like, I need a little moment here. I need I need a second. Like I just need a little moment, you guys. I just can't do the three-course meal right now. Like give me a second. And then you start to just be. And then you start to realize people like to hang out with you when you don't serve them a three-course meal. People still are benefiting from your work when you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that. Then you get inspired. And then it's like that inspiration re-engages you to show up in a different place. So I love that so much. And this is also can touch on a conversation of belonging as well that I talk about inside of my Healing the Heart program. Worthiness, emotional intelligence, all of this stuff is healing the heart type of conversations. This is my 6-week course that I just love so much, and it has developed so much over the years. And in November is the next round. And we talk about belonging, the longing of being, right? So, how can you be loved and seen and cherished by just being who you are? It's like one of the biggest rewirings of humans because for so many years we've had to do things to survive. For so many years we've had to change who we are in order to fit in. Like there's so many iterations of doing equals worthiness instead of realizing that beingness, and this is like one of the biggest rewires we have to do, and it is the basis of energetics. Because if it's all about where it's coming from, your basis, you're better off when you're feeling worthy. Because if you're not feeling worthy, you're going to look for the validation. You're going to do things to please. You're going to, overcompensate. You're going to think you're not enough. So you're going to do all these things. And that is just a recipe for burnout. It's a recipe for inauthentic relationships. Like the things that you attract in that energy is not really aligned to what you could truly attract, right? So I love that. I love that you could, you know, come with a practical example that was exactly the process. So going a bit into embrace, I had a practice or I have a practice that I trickle in every once in a while called the 2 minute of embrace. And I really have a belief that if you can get into embrace for 2 minutes, that will ripple hours into your life. Is this scientifically backed up? No. Do I believe it? Yeah. Have I experienced it? Yes, for sure. So, but in one way, what is scientifically backed up is coherent breathing. And coherent breathing is getting into like a therapeutic state, which is around 6 breaths per minute. I always say that wrong if it's 6 breaths or 10 breaths, but it's around 6 breaths per minute. And this is like a rhythm of an all optimal rhythm for humans to be like in a therapeutic, safe frequency. Safe meaning your body is not really feeling threat if you're breathing 6 breaths per minute. And this, if you practice for 20 minutes, has scientifically been proven to have an effect for hours. So if we take that and kind of apply it to finding a practice where you land into safety within your body, even if it's just for a couple minutes, it's going to have a longer effect. So my approach here was like, okay, it's hard to be embrace. It's hard to be an embrace all the time. And at least me, many years ago, it was very hard to be an embrace. I have come from a past of, I know a lot of you know this because I share it, but for those who are kind of new to my work and don't know me that well, I have come from a past of being in a lot of resistance, being very self-sabotage, in a lot of self-sabotage, also being very hard on myself. Like those were kind of my three Achilles heel. I don't know if you can call it that, but my weak points where it's like I'm so creative. I've always been creative. I've always gone after my dreams. I've always been, responsible and accountable and positive. These values have always been there and like really like go-getter and like energized. But then I would almost cut down every single project I did, every single momentum I did with my lack of worthiness. I would not believe that I was good enough. I would be really hard on myself if I made a mistake. Like the downward spirals were real. So for me to be able to get into a frequency of embrace for a longer period of time was really hard because of this voice that would continue to come up or these patterns that would continue to just take me down. And I was in a pattern of stop, go, hot, cold, momentum, sabotage, momentum, sabotage, momentum, sabotage. And there is a addiction there because you feel like you're moving forward. And then when I sabotaged, I feel like I deserved it. Like I feel like I deserved the punishment. I feel like I deserved to be hard on because I was like, well, I could have been better. I could have done that better. I have higher standards. More people are like, people expect more from me. I expect more from me. So even my sabotage had like a heroic angle to it. So it made me feel like, yeah, but I'm working really hard and I have to be better from an energetic point of lack. Where now I can also hold very high standards for myself and be honest of being like, I could have done better there. But you can even hear in my voice, it was different, right? It was like, okay, I thought I could have done better. It's like more of a high pitched, it's more of a light-hearted, it's more of a like, yeah, let's do better next time. It's kind of like I'm not going to destroy my self-belief, but I'm just going to be like, yeah, let's do something different next time. Like let's not let that happen again. It's a lot more lighthearted. So I can still have really high standards with myself and I can still have a lot of accountability and I still make a lot of mistakes. But the energetics of how I approach my mistakes and how I approach being hard on myself are very different people. And so, yeah, this process was embrace was such a big part of it. And it just keeps coming up, you guys, in different levels. So before it was like, okay, let me sit on the ground. This is what I would do. And this is what I teach my clients as well. You lay on the ground. So if you want to do this now, feel free to do it if you can. I'm going to guide it. It's just 2 minutes. So if you can do it, do it. If you're driving a car or something, don't do it. But you can still do it in like a smaller way, but obviously don't close your eyes and go into the full situation. So if you can, I'm just inviting you to lay down. If you can, if there's like a piece of floor, take the floor. The floor is best because you can relax your whole body. If you are sitting, you have to hold part of your body. So relaxing is the best way to embrace actually and to relax. So I want you to just notice everything that's happening in your life right now. All of the interactions, all of the decisions, all of the sensations in your body, all of the thoughts in your mind. And I want you to just allow it to be there fully. Allow the excitement to be there. Allow the doubt to be there. Seeing if you can relax a little bit deeper. Allowing it all to be there. Your life exactly as it is right now, every single part of it. Great, a little bit longer, seeing if you can drop in a little bit more or welcome in even more of you and your life, whatever's happening. Great. So that was 2 minutes, and it went quite quickly. And for some of you, you might be like, well, I could stay here a lot longer. And that's a beautiful thing. And if you can stay there longer, I really recommend staying as long as you can so that you can get used to the frequency of embrace. And recently, I guided a session inside of my membership. My membership is an incredible place where you can do breathwork sessions with me, join master classes where I deepen certain topics, and also post guided meditations. And the one of the last sessions that I guided, the term well of embrace came up. And it's been something that's been kind of dancing around my mind since I said it. And it feels so beautiful to imagine that you have a well inside of you, that you have this deep place that is always in the frequency of embrace. And what I've been learning more and more about embrace is that it is the medicine to resistance. Resistance is literally you don't want this thing to be here. And resistance can also turn into shame, which shame is saying it can't be here. So resistance is like, I don't want it, I don't want it, but it's very much here. I'm like in the face of it. And shame is like, it's not even in the room. I put it away. I packed it away. The well of embrace is a deep place within you that allows everything to be there. And the more mature we become, the more whole we become, the more integrated we become, the more healed we become, you know that all of these parts of you that you don't want there and that you've actually put away, they are subconsciously controlling you. They're because they're still there, even though you don't want them to be there, and even though you don't think that they're still very much there. And anything that doesn't get attention, think of a child, think of an animal that doesn't get attention, they do funny things in order to get attention. And this is exactly what happens with the parts of you that you're resisting and that you're shaming. They start to do weird things in order to get your attention. We just did 2 minutes, but if you were able to access this state, maybe like micro moments throughout the day, or maybe you do a longer session. I have a session in my membership called The Well of Embrace. It's an hour long, where, of course, it's not like the whole hour in the complete, well, basically, I mean, if I could say in one way, like my work is basically, I want to get you landed in your well of embrace. Because if you can go there, and like we were talking about in the beginning, are you in avoidance or are you in embrace? Because they can be very similar looking, right? Where it's like, I'm letting go, but it's like, are you just giving up because you're lazy? Or are you actually letting go, but you're still connected to your heart? You're still connected to your truth. You're still present, if that makes sense. I'm just like, I hope you can just feel what I'm saying, the difference here. If you can really get into the frequency of embrace from a aware, present place, you're in a really good spot in order to make decisions for yourself, to meet your own needs, so you don't have to go out and do things like, again, these shadows will do things that don't necessarily align to get attention, to get their needs met. But it's like if you're meeting your own needs, if you're seeing yourself deeply, you're not going to need all of these things. I had a client session recently that, so I do embodiment sessions, which are 60-minute sessions of supporting you connecting to answers within your body, moving stagnant energy through a really simple technique, which it's just inquiry, breath awareness, like well of embrace, and me asking questions and just really getting you to be in your body. So much happened in this one session for this client that had been struggling with a lot, struggling with a certain pattern his like many years, many, many years. And in our one session together, through him having the capacity to actually embrace parts of himself that he had put in the basement, he realized he was able to break through a pattern that he had been holding his whole life that has been controlling so much of his life. And it's quite simple, but he was also ready. He's done a lot of work to be able to get to the right energetic place. It's just such beautiful work. And it's so simple that like part of you is going to want it to be more complicated. Part of you is not going to want to embrace because the resistance wants you to want things to be different, to deny reality, to kind of stay in a delusional place that is coming from lack. You can come from a delusional place from abundance, and it's a very different energy. We start talking about magic. But if you're in a delusional place based on lack, you are more kind of like creating a reality to enable your shadows. Where if you're being delusional from a place of abundance, I feel like it's more of a I embrace everything that is and I have creative capacity to kind of make something new. In order to have creative capacity, like creativity is kind of an energy that comes from abundance. For those who work creatively, whether it's art, but you can work with creativity in so many different ways, obviously. It's like life force energy. It responds best to authenticity. It responds best to like overflow, fullness in many ways, being seen deeply. So there was one more thing that I wanted to share today, and I'm going to make a post about this later this week. And it's about insecurity and different doubts and different things that come up in our journey. Something that has been very powerful in my world lately has been my new offer, my Engage Mastermind, where the context is all about engaging in life. It's about finding this regulated state to relate to life from instead of being the shutdown or the overwhelm. We're finding the regulated, curious, the social engagement system, the ventral, open belly, open heart, eye contact way of living. And it's it's truly amazing. And I'm loving the group and I'm loving the conversations and I'm just mostly loving the energetics, like we're talking about today, about getting into the state of engagement. And it's a formula for life that is so supportive. And there was a client inside the mastermind that said it's really is the game. The game is to not avoid. Like if you could just not avoid in your life, could you just not do that? I love that saying. Can you just not? That'd be great. And it's like easier said than done, obviously. But she said that's the game. The game is to just not avoid. If you don't avoid, like you're set, like you're in the game. You're in the game. What more could you ask for life than to just be in it, right? You get to make mistakes. You get to get your heart broken. You get to be embarrassed. You get to have success. You get to have like being in the game is the best part. But if you're not in the game, you're probably in avoidance, resistance, sabotage, overwhelm, or shutdown. I think the best part of life is when we're engaged, when we're meeting eye contact, when we are relating, when we are connecting, when we are curious, like that is the most regulated and healthy part of a human. And when insecurities come up, it can be very easy to go into the shutdown, the not good enough, the doubt, like all of the shadows. And I think there's certain things in your life that when you go for something, the insecurities come with it. So when you go for a desire and you're like, I really want to do this thing, every insecurity that is kind of in the way of you getting that thing will come up. So there requires this emotional capacity to be able to see that, first of all, because I don't know about you, but in my past, when an insecurity would come up, I would be hard on myself, deem myself not worthy, and totally identify with the insecurity. So it's like, how do you find a way to stay engaged in your insecurity without having it spin you out? Knowing that the wisdom is there, knowing that there's so much wisdom in your insecurity. Like it's basically giving you the manual of what needs to be strengthened, seen, and embraced. So this is kind of, you know, maybe I know for me, some years ago, this was out of touch because the insecurities were running my life so much and they became so heavy and I identified a lot with them. Where now it's more like I'm curious about them and it's like, oh, they're coming up again. Okay, what's another way I can relate to them? What's a creative way that I can engage with it? What is a decision that I can make that will strengthen, the trust in myself so I don't go into the insecurity, but it's there. So it's like, how do you relate to your insecurity without becoming the insecurity? Is this next level, insight and conversation that I feel can really change the way that you navigate and you lead yourself through change. Because a lot of people don't activate change because of the insecurity, right? So it's like you want to meet more people and then you get invited somewhere and it's like, yeah, but I'm going to be shy and it's going to be awkward, so I'm not going to go. And it's like, yeah, the insecurity of being shy and awkward is basically initiation into meeting new people. So, but like, can you move through that? Can you be curious about that? So you can copy and paste that into almost any area of your life and any area that you're growing into. So I hope today's podcast supported you in some different conversations, some different perspectives about, yeah, the things that we've talked about with embrace, the things that we've talked about with right now with the insecurity and the phases. I'm like, wait, what did we talk about in the beginning? I'm not even remembering, but I spent so much time talking about it. Um, the energetics, right? Like, where is everything coming from in your life? It's worth taking a moment to step back and really feel where things are coming from. It's worth taking that time. It's like quality over quantity type of thing. Pure gold. I'm so happy. So happy. So I will see you where we are next connected. I have currently some space for one-on-one mentorship. I have 2 spots. I have some spots for embodiment sessions. It's a package, 60-minute calls, which are so powerful. I'm loving that. And I have 4 spots for my breathworker program. So those are the membership, the circle membership, where there's breathwork, masterclasses, meditations. It's such a great place to get practice and just like be in the world, be in the work, be in the momentum. So I could really recommend that if you're feeling like you want to be in my world, you want to strengthen the things that we're talking about, because I can say that almost every single one of my client right now is having results in every single thing that I've talked about today. We are walking the walk together, and there's just so much awareness, resource, inspiration, and accountability in my world. And we also have a lot of fun and we laugh a lot together. It's the best. So, yeah, just reach out if you feel like there's any questions you have of like what is going to be a good fit for you moving forward. I would love to connect. And I will see you where we are next connected, whether it's in one of my spaces or the next episode. So feel free to leave a review or a star or a heart or wherever, a like or whatever, subscribe if you're listening on Spotify or YouTube. And just thank you so much for listening. I know that a lot of you listen and you send me a message later about how much it touches you or how much it was like parallel to your process. So I'm so grateful to be able to do these episodes. I will see you next time. Have a beautiful day, night, morning, wherever you are. And yeah, thank you again for those who joined live and for those tuning in. Bye, everyone.